evening, EDA Board. My first agenda item is roll call of the board members. Mr. Arnold Brown, Ms. Adrian Hicks, Mr. Gregory Cotman, Dr. Brandy Rollins, Mr. David Burrows, Mr. Tony Harris, Mr. Travis Johnston. Mr. Brown, you do have a quorum. The next item on your agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes. First, we want to discuss the October 2nd, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any edits to these minutes? Okay. The next one is our November the 6th, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any edits to these meeting minutes? So, Mr. Brown, this time we ask you to approve the October 2nd and November 6th meeting minutes with no edits.
Okay, I would like to approve the October the 2nd and November the 6th minutes as read.
All right, the next item on your agenda is your financial report. I do apologize that I don't have the written report typed out for the EDA board. We was trying to get copies of the bank statements, so I will type up the report and send you all send it to you all in the mail.
So,
but I do.
It's all right. Just to clarify, we don't vote on approval of things anymore?
For the meeting minutes?
Yeah, just, we had done that in the past. We all motioned it and voted for it, and
Okay, we can.
no, I'm just curious as to why we.
Oh,
No.
everyone approved.
Yeah, it was
so-
unanimous. It's fine with
okay.
me. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss, like, we changed protocols
Okay.
or something. So
You can make a motion to approve them.
yes, go ahead, make a motion.
I motion that we approve the meeting minutes as presented,
Need a second.
October 2nd and November 6th of 2025.
Second,
Okay,
Mr. Cotman.
we have a motion to approve the October 2nd and November the 6th minutes, and
Need a second.
it has been properly seconded.
Okay.
So the minutes are approved. Thank you.
All right, for the financial report for the ending of the year for December 2025, your beginning balance for your public fund account was $1,150,147.76. You had a check in the amount of $112 and one check in the amount of $989.18, which is a total of $1,101.18. Your interest paid was $9.76. Your interest earned was, interest earned was $9.76. So it brings your new balance at the end of the year as of 12/31/2025 is $1,149,056.34. For your basic public fund, which is your Market 5 fund where all of your lease payments go to, your ending balance, we had deposits of $2,500, that was all your lease payments. So the ending balance for your Market 5 public fund account is $18,260. Is there a motion to approve the financial report?
I have a comment about the financial report before we make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
We had discussed for a while now to move some of our $1 million plus into a account that could bear us a little bit more interest than $9. I thought we were going to look at doing that. So
Yes, sir. Currently, right now, we have $100,000 in our VIP account. We do have them scheduled to come to the February meeting to discuss with you all the pros and the cons of what you have in there thus far, and to discuss what you might want to do in the future. So they are scheduled to come to the February 5th meeting.
so
The
February
VACO.
5th, we're going to discuss it, or we're going to make a decision to move
That'd be
funds
up
at
to
that
you all, but
time?
I'm bringing
Okay.
VACO here to talk to you all about your current VIP account.
VACO?
Yes, we have it through VACO. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the financial report as presented.
Second.
Okay, has been properly motioned and second, so it's been approved.
All right, the next item on your agenda is adoption of the updated bylaws. I'm gonna read the resolution for your hearing. The only change that we have on the bylaws is that we went from quarterly meetings to regular monthly meetings. So let me get to that. The Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia, Resolution Number 2026-1. A resolution to adopt updated bylaws of the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia, with an updated meeting schedule. Whereas the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia, the authority is organized and operates pursuant to the Industrial Development and Revenue Bond Act, Section 15.2-4900 of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended. And whereas the authority previously adopted bylaws that established quarterly meetings as the regular meeting schedule, and whereas the authority deems it necessary and appropriate to update the bylaws to reflect a change in the regular meeting schedule from quarterly to monthly in order to improve efficiency and responsiveness. And whereas the authority has reviewed the proposed updated bylaws and found them to be in the best interest of the authority and the County of Charles City. Now therefore be it resolved by the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia, that number one, the updated bylaws of the authority attached hereto as Exhibit A are hereby adopted. Number two, the regular meeting schedule is revised from quarterly to monthly, with meetings to be held on the first Thursday of each month at 6 p.m., except when such date falls on a holiday or as otherwise determined by the authority. Number three, the chairperson and staff of the authority are authorized and directed to take any and all actions necessary to implement this resolution and the updated bylaws. Number four, this resolution should take effect immediately upon its adoption, and it'll be adopted this 8th day of January 2026. So, Mr. Brown, we're asking, are there any comments or edits, additional edits to the bylaws?
Do we have any comments or edits to the bylaws?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Oh, did you have one? No. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump line here.
Are there any comments or edits? No. So
Travis have one.
Okay, go ahead.
There was, I think it was just a typo. Article 1, paragraph 4. It mentions the not less than. There was some scratch outs there. Just making sure that that's not going to get scratched out. Or is it? Are we changing that?
No, sir.
wording?
That was a previous edit where it was saying it was 5 days. So Mr. Bosch had previously edited that back in May or June when we went to quarterly. So that might be why that dash is still there, but it's 3 working days I have to post the agenda.
Yeah, I just want to
Yes,
make sure
sir.
that that didn't get scratched away because I wasn't sure what
Okay,
when you do the track changes, it kind of does the.
the funny thing.
Yeah,
I'll make
so-
sure that on the printed copy for the signature for Mr. Brown, that is showing correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. That
Any
was
other
it.
edits? We good? Okay.
Anyone else? So, could I have a motion to update the new bylaws?
To adopt the resolution, number 2026-1.
Number 2026-1.
I motion to approve resolution number 2026-1. I do have a follow-up for the bylaws, but I'll take care of it when we talk about public comment. So that is my motion.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Okay. Our next item is a resolution adopting the 2026 monthly meeting schedule of the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia, resolution number 2026-2. Whereas the Economic Development Authority of Charles City, Virginia, EDA, is authorized to establish a regular meeting schedule in accordance with the Code of Virginia and applicable county policies. And whereas establishing a consistent and predictable meeting schedule promotes transparency, public participation, and the efficient conduct of EDA business. And whereas the EDA has historically convened its regular meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 6 p.m., except when such dates fall on recognized holiday. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia, that number one, the EDA hereby adopts its 2026 regular monthly meeting schedule to convene on the first Thursday of each month at 6 p.m., except when the first Thursday falls on a recognized holiday. Number two, in the event a scheduled meeting date coincide with a holiday or is otherwise impractical, the EDA chair, in consultation with staff, is authorized to reschedule the meeting to alternate date and time in compliance with Virginia open meeting requirements. Number three, Notice of all regular and rescheduled meetings shall be provided in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and county policies. Number 4, this resolution should take effect upon adoption and shall apply to meetings held during calendar year 2026. It shall be adopted this 8th day of January 2026. Exhibit A is the 2026 EDA meeting dates, again, the first Thursday of every month at 6 p.m., except January the 8th because it fell on the New Year's holiday. So, Mr. Brown, do we have any edits to the meeting schedule?
Are there any edits?
So, Mr. Brown, this time we ask for a motion to adopt resolution number 2026, adopting the 2026 monthly meeting schedule.
Okay, to adopt the 2026-2 monthly meeting schedule, could I have a motion?
I motion to approve resolution number 2026-2 as presented.
So it's been a motion and properly second. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
All right, the next item on your agenda is resolution number 2026-3, a resolution to adopt public comment period guidelines of the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia. Whereas the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County values the input and participation of citizens and stakeholders in its meeting, and whereas orderly and respectful public comments are essential to the efficient conduct of EDA business, and whereas it is in the best interest of the EDA to establish clear guidelines for public comments in alignment with Robert Rules of Order and County Board standards. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Economic Development Authority of Charles City County, Virginia, hereby adopts the attached public comment period guidelines, and be it therefore further resolved that these guidelines should be effective immediately and should govern all public comment periods at EDA meetings, including the following key provisions. Number 1, individual speakers. Each individual shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the authority. Number 2, group speakers. Groups must identify themselves as a group and are allotted 5 minutes total. Number 3, conduct. Comments must be directed to the authority as a whole. Profane, disruptive, or disrespectful behavior is prohibited. Number 4, written responses. Citizens desiring written responses must complete the public comment response request form with response provided within 7 business days. Number 5, enforcement. The chair has the authority to maintain order, issue warnings, and end comments or remove individuals as necessary. Be it further resolved that the chair of EDA is authorized to take any actions necessary to implement and enforce these guidelines adopted this 8th day of January 2026. Mr. Brown, at this time I ask, is there any comments or edits to the adopted guidelines or the proposed guidelines?
I don't have any. Does anyone have any changes or comments?
I just have a comment. I want to thank you for putting those together. I mean, from our previous meetings discussing about what those are. I mean, I read through it and I thought it was well done. So thank you for following through and putting that together. I guess at this time, I mean, I guess we're going to approve it first, and then I'll make another statement about public comment.
Do you have any edits?
No edits to is it
Oh, okay.
as a procedure and as described. I mean, it gives us the ability to change it. I think public comment might give us input as to how we might need to change it if citizens decide they want to provide that input. But as it is now, it satisfies me for sure.
Okay, we need a motion to accept
I motion.
resolution 2026.
Yeah, I motion to approve. I should share the mic here. I motion to approve resolution number 2026-3.
Second? Okay, it's been properly motioned and second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it.
So I think you had a comment. And just a reminder, even when they do the seconds, Mr. Brown, they still have to do it in the microphone so the system can pick it up.
So as we've adopted the resolution for public comment period and adjusting our bylaws and our meeting schedule, I was wondering if it might be wise for us to adjust our bylaws to make reference to how our meetings go that it would include public comment. The Board of Supervisors has a little meeting section in their bylaws, and it describes that this is kind of the flow of how it would go, and it does mention public comment shall be done in accordance with the adopted public comment period. Of course, we can amend it as we need to, but at least our bylaws would reference that, you know, those things.
Okay. I can make that change and then have it for your signature.
Does it need a motion for that, or just?
Do we
Yeah, he
need
needs a motion to edit the bylaws, to amend the bylaws.
A motion to amend our bylaws to include reference to the public comment period procedure as adopted.
Do we have a second? So been properly motioned and properly second to amend the bylaws, dealing with public comments.
Guidelines being
All
added.
those,
Yeah.
all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
All right, at this time, Mr. Brown, the EDA had asked for my office to send out an RFP for, under new business for legal counsel. So on tonight, we have two law firms that will present to you all. We have Spilman Thomas and Battle, and then we have Christian and Barton. So at this time, we're gonna ask Spilman Thomas and Battle to come up, present to you all, and give you all an opportunity to ask them questions concerning the RFQ that they responded to. And all of those, RFQs are in front of you. So the first one is Spilman Thomas and Battle. Yes. Now, can you make sure the microphone is on? So I don't think.
Hello there. My name is Mike Lockaby. I want to preface by saying, I hope this is working, that we didn't put together a PowerPoint presentation. And the reason why is because, as two of the most riveting trial lawyers I ever met told me, if you put together a PowerPoint presentation, you put the judge to sleep, you put the jury to sleep, you're not looking at their body language, they're not looking at your body language, and you just read the PowerPoint anyway. I assume you guys have all read the submission. You're smart people, you've seen that. I'm still going to fill in a little bit of background on the firm and give a little bit of background on who we are. So Spilman Thomas and Battle is a very, very old firm. Dates back to being founded, I believe, in 1864 or 1865 by two abolitionist lawyers in Charleston who were somewhat blacklisted by the lawyers in the eastern half of Virginia during that time period, as you can imagine. It's continued to exist since then. More recently, Spilman Thomas and Battle has represented economic development authorities. It was predominantly a West Virginia firm, represented economic development authorities in West Virginia, still to this day represents the West Virginia equivalent of VEDP, if you're familiar with that entity. Our office, they expanded into Virginia when the attorneys with a longtime Roanoke firm of Melchana, Day, Amar, and Black joined with them in 2007. And at that point, two of the partners at Melchana Day, Webster Day and Carter Brothers, had built a very robust practice representing economic development authorities and advising localities on public finance matters and acting as bond counsel in the western part of the state. We've since expanded that, become really one of, I hope I'm not tooting our horns too much, but one of the really premier local government and public finance firms in the western part of the state. We do also handle matters in the eastern part of the state. I think I told you I represent the Southside Network Authority, which is in Southside Hampton Roads. I've worked with the HRPDC on matters on a regular basis. My name is Mike Lockaby. I'm a member of the firm. I'm the co-chair of the local government and public entity practice group for the entire firm. You guys are the first to hear it. Today, the executive committee of the firm named me also co-chair of our municipal bond and public finance practice group. So I'm doing pretty well on that front, I guess. My background, I started off, I spent 7 years, I graduated from the University of Virginia, graduated from the College of William and Mary School of Law. Spent 7 years doing land use litigation, basically on behalf of local governments in Northern Virginia. I then became the county attorney in Louisa County. Just to put it in a very brief box, the politics were not working out. And consequently, I moved to Roanoke, Virginia, where ever since then I've been building a practice working with local governments and particularly with economic development authorities and public finance matters. At this point, the Economic Development Authority clients that I have include the economic development authorities of Botetourt County, Amherst County, the city of Roanoke, bond counsel to the Roanoke County Economic Development Authority. Their in-house county attorney does their general work, but when they have public finance matters, they bring me in. Economic Development Authority of the town of Clifton Forge, and then I've handled one-offs and bond issuances for many others in different parts of the state. We put on, despite the fact that we have probably a dozen lawyers who regularly handle local government matters in Virginia, we put down 3 of us as the team lead in order to serve you here in Charles City County. Myself and my colleague Arthur Anderson, and my colleague Suzanne Pierce, who has texted me that she is having difficulty getting off of a telephone call and getting on to you. However, she has texted me that she is desperately trying to get on, but if she does not, it'll be her loss, let's put it that way. Arthur, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Arthur Anderson. I'm with the Roanoke office of Spilman Thomas and Battle. I'm a fairly new employee there. I spent 40 years practicing law in Richmond with the firm of McGuire Woods. Did public finance law most of that time, but also had a number of long-standing governmental authority representations where sat in the meetings, handled and advised on FOIA matters, conflict of interest matters, bylaws issues, all those kind of things. I will say, given where, and reading the minutes of the last 2 meetings, I was very impressed with the kinds of questions you all were asking. You were asking the right questions, and would very much like the opportunity to work with you. And that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arthur lives 40 minutes from here. Well, that's interesting. Arthur lives 40 minutes from here, door to door, and if we're blessed to be selected, he would be predominantly coming to meetings with you, because it just simply makes a lot more sense. While Spilman is based out of Roanoke, we have, I think, 3 lawyers right now who actually work out of Richmond. They just have decided that they want to work from their home in Richmond, and that works fine by us, and Arthur's one of those. So I'm going to, with Suzanne not having yet signed on, I wanted to very quickly introduce her as well. She is a new member of the firm. She joined us from a Blacksburg firm called Cowan Perry, where she had done a lot of work for the Economic Development Authority of Wythe County, Virginia, and you've probably been paying attention. They had some really big announcements over the last 5 years, and she was involved in making those happen. So she predominantly does business law, banking law, real estate law, but she's been deeply involved in that sort of thing and also brings experience to the team. Even though she's been only with the firm, I think now for less than 5 months, I've already been able to bring her into many of the projects that I've been working on. With that introduction and sort of general background out of the way, I would love to answer any questions you have. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm not absolutely my best self, but I will give a shot to any questions that you have, because I'm sure that you've got a couple out of the many, many pages that we submitted.
Thank you for that intro. It's great. My name's Troy Burrows, so your firm currently represents Amherst for EDA on an EDA capacity, Amherst and Botetourt and Roanoke and Lexington and Clifton Forge, I think
Yes.
were the examples you gave.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say they compare to Charles City in terms of the EDA development? I mean, the EDA structure, the issues we face. I know you said you read some of the past meeting minutes and stuff, but just how do you think you can assist us in the types of challenges we have to deal with? And also, do any of the counties that you represent, are they looking to maybe move or progress to maybe more economic uses of their county, for example, data centers, that sort of thing, which is becoming an issue in Charles City of late?
Well, so that's a great question. And the different economic development authorities, and we represent also one regional industrial facilities authority, they differ in various respects. Obviously, City of Roanoke EDA Roanoke is an old, dense, old-fashioned industrial city. It's not comparable to Charles City. Botetourt County and Amherst County, they do have a lot of similarities. And obviously Clifton Forge and Lexington, those are small, compact cities, but there are a lot of similarities with Botetourt and Amherst. They're both predominantly rural counties of approximately 30,000 people, so I think a little bit bigger population-wise than Charles City, but in that same general bracket. And we have had we have had the opportunity to do a lot of work in both of them. There are a couple of major projects going on right now that So in Botetourt County, our work, that was the first county that Melchana Day became the EDA attorney for back in 1982. So everything for the past 40 years they've worked on. But most recently, what we've been working on there is finishing out doing a 900-acre industrial park. And the capstone of doing that 900-acre industrial park has been having a billion-dollar investment from Google in a data center at that park. So that was wonderful. That was a complicated deal. There was a performance agreement involved. There was a very complicated purchase and sale agreement. There was a lot of due diligence that we went through because the site had some blue lines on it, which resulted in there being wetlands delineations and the whole 9 yards. So I think that there is some similarities there. Unfortunately, I can't tell you which clients it is or even where, but we also have 2 other clients who are currently working very hot and heavy on data center deals. I imagine you'd probably hear about them within the next 6 to 12 months, if not sooner. I just can't tell you more than that. Sorry.
So I'm working with other EDAs, and as you know, working with an EDA and the Board of Supervisors for those different entities, what has been your strategy to address concerns of the EDA with their Board of Supervisors and come to some type of agreement? What has been your strategy with working with those 2 entities?
Well, and that's a matter with great variation, okay? In Botetourt County, the Board of Supervisors and the EDA, they are singing from the same page of the same hymnal almost every day. The chair of the Board of Supervisors and the chair of the EDA go out to lunch a couple times a week, and it's just that sort of a situation. That is not the situation, I can tell you, in pretty much any of the other localities that I work with. And that's not to say that they're antagonistic, but they are independent. For instance, Amherst County, which interestingly, geographically, demographically, Botetourt is a county with a little suburban thing and a bunch of rural just north of Roanoke. Amherst is a little suburban thing with a big rural thing just north of Lynchburg. So many respects very similar. Amherst County, there has not always been a great relationship between the EDA board and the Board of Supervisors. And in fact, the EDA has 2 employees of its own. And they have an agreement where every year the Board of Supervisors appropriates the equivalent of 1 penny on the tax rate to their EDA, and the EDA can do with it what it likes. And they have 2 employees, and they use that for incentives and different things as they see fit. It's not always the lawyer's job to make those relationships work. However, it is a lawyer's job, and this is, you have the attorney at law, you have the counselor at law pieces of what you do. The counselor at law piece is to help your client see where there are win-wins, see where there are paths where you can avoid conflicts, because oftentimes a conflict seems like the obvious solution when there's a secondary solution where you can frankly just kind of go around the other. And also, I think that you do have a strong ability to work through a back channel because the economic development director who acts as your staff support also works with the county administrator and therefore indirectly with the board of supervisors. You have a natural conduit for information through the county administrator to the board of supervisors. I certainly know my experience is not everybody on the board of supervisors is going to like you, and not all of you are going to like everybody on the board of supervisors. But if one or two of you can make a point to go have lunch with one or two members of the board of supervisors every month, that's an investment in lunch that's well made.
Are there any more questions?
My question, I think you answered, it was just, everything that we saw so far was that you were in Roanoke, but you mentioned that you have people close by that would make it more convenient to attend meetings and such, so.
Yeah, we do. And, you know, to give you an idea, yes, western half of the state is our habitual historical pocket. However, I've handled a bond issuance for Urbana, which small town, but a bond issuance for Urbana on the northern neck last year, working with Westmoreland County through December. Arthur was working up till almost Christmas Eve on some deals that they were doing. So, and tomorrow I'm going to the board of directors meeting for the Southside Network Authority. We get out here just the same way as the Eastern Virginia law firms sometimes wind up in the western half because you can't represent everybody. You get kind of conflicts, you know? So yeah, we come out here and we do have staff who are resident in Richmond, although we don't have an office there. So. I'm glad to answer any other questions. I like conversations. Thank you very much, and please feel free to follow up with any questions or follow-up that you have. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Michael and Arthur, and we'll be reaching out once we make our decision on what firm we're going with. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brown, your next firm that will be presenting to you all is Christian and Barton, and their presentation is in front of you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Michael Guanzon. This is Chris Gill, and this is Megan Holly from our firm. And we're from the law firm of Christian and Barton. We are marking our 100th anniversary in existence. We're based in downtown Richmond. We thought that we do have a PowerPoint presentation, so we might not be as animated as some of the other people, but we just had this here just to give you an idea about what kind of services and try to fill in the gaps of what we can offer and our experience.
And it's also in front of you as well.
Right, so you don't have to look behind you. But before we do that, we wanted to see if you might have any questions for us before we start that might, shape where we provide more information. Are there any questions right at the moment? Okay. I'm the practice group leader for our business team at the firm practice group, and Chris heads up our real estate area, and then we have Megan here, who's our associate who works in our practice groups doing this stuff. This is just some background information. Y'all can read about that stuff, but like I said, we're celebrating our 100th year anniversary this year. And those are you gotta have your little glamour shots, so those are our pictures right there. And then these are the other people who meet our team for corporate and real estate. So The first person there is Steve Lippman. He works directly with me, and we represent a bunch of regional industrial facilities authorities, industrial development authorities, as well as economic development authorities. And it's specialized. I would say that the bulk of what we do is in Southern Virginia, although we do, as far as economic development is concerned, and I don't know how much you keep up with the kind of activity that we've had, but we have all projects, big and small. I personally, before coming to Christian and Barton, had actually formed some regional RIFAs for even as small as the town of Hurt, which is kind of sandwiched between Pittsylvania County. It's in Pittsylvania County and close to Alta Vista, so in that area as well. So we're pretty well aware about what's been going on. We've had some really big wins lately for the community, and I'm actually a Danville boy. I know I don't look it, and I probably don't sound like it, but I'm a proud native of Danville. So my influence and my experience has been in setting up these various organizations, and with the Regional Industrial Facility Authority that's in Danville, Pennsylvania County, it's very interesting because one of the questions that you had asked has been the interplay between the EDA and the Board of Supervisors. Well, when you have different localities, that adds another interesting but very dynamic perspective. So you have the Board of Supervisors for Pennsylvania County, you've got the City Council of Danville. One is predominantly Republican, one is predominantly Democrat. And I get to be right in the middle to make sure that we get these deals working. You know, we have an area that has been historically depressed because of the tobacco and textiles leaving the area. And so we had to bring people together to do this economic development. And so when we talk about projects, our involvement even today has been, how are we a team member? I mean, clearly we're going to answer the legal questions, we're going to facilitate how you get there, but we are involved even on a daily basis on being a facilitator. We're not the driver, you know, that's what the EDA and those boards do. So I don't ever want people to think that, you know, lawyers are dictating how it works. Our job is to facilitate, and our job is to make sure y'all don't get in trouble, i.e. no lawsuits. So that's what we do that. And then,
Yeah, and so as Michael said, I'm Chris Gill, and I head up our real estate department. We're, you know, when Christian Barton started 100 years ago, we were probably a big firm in Richmond. Now we're a small firm in Richmond, I feel like, or at least a mid-size. So because of that, my practice is, like Michael's, pretty general. I do real estate for private developers and EDAs. We work with board supervisors. We do work for the Richmond Airport. We're general counsel. Dave Harless, who's up there, is the general counsel, but I work a lot with him on a lot of the everything from working with Henrico and other localities on EDA projects to working with the airlines and various tenants and concessionaires there, and the runs the gamut of public and private representation. A lot of the work I've done more recently has been actually I've done a lot of work with the city of Emporia and their EDA, and also Southampton County and its EDA. They're very different, but also some similarities. They have a good working relationship with their boards, and generally don't have a lot of conflict in the projects that we're working on, but a lot of what we're dealing with there are growing pains, I guess, as they're trying to get into some of these larger projects, and for the first time in a lot of cases, and trying to figure out what you know where they can put data centers or solar projects, or most recently there was it's like a solar project, but it's not. It's a battery storage projects, and then all of the infrastructure that goes along with that, and sorting that out between the developer and what the county is able to do. And so the private, I think the background working with the private developers is helpful in that regard, because you get a sense of what development projects can, how they work and how they're financed, and it helps to know that when representing our local government authorities as well.
And then we
And
have.
Callie, I would just say, Callie Guy is up there. She works a lot with me on just as Steve works a lot with Michael. Callie works with me, and Megan kind of splits her time between
I get
the
two
two.
bosses.
But we all work together as a group on a lot of projects as well.
And actually, you have a personal connection to Charles City County. Right?
Sure. No, I've been primarily doing this sort of EDA and RIFA work since I've been with the firm. But I particularly wanted to come here today because I have a deep family connection to Charles City County. So this is an area that means a lot to me, and it would be a huge honor to be able to help y'all really make this county a shining example in Virginia, and help the people out here. My step-grandfather actually has his picture up on the wall right out there. He was head of the Board of Supervisors back in the day. And my family is often down here in Charles City County, and some land that we own, mostly eating a very fattening breakfast, but a little bit of hunting and fishing.
So what we like to do is just proceed with the PowerPoint, just to give you an idea about what we can do on a more hands-on basis. What we do for other EDAs or even regional industrial facility authorities is we really get to the nuts and bolts of things for agenda preps, all these plannings, and to make sure that everything is ready. And some of the jurisdictions that we've had that we represent, there's a lot of what we say fan clubs. So we'll have some environmental people who might have an issue with some of the plans that we're doing. And so it is very, very important that we make sure that our client is making sure that the meetings are run really tightly, because if they're not, we're going to hear about it before a judge, if we don't do that. With some of the government entities that I've been personally involved as their lead counsel, I want to jinx myself, but we haven't had a lawsuit in the 15 years that I've been representing them. And prior to that, we had several lawsuits, and part of those lawsuits were all on not following procedure. So that is something that we really want to help, because if we figure that if we assist in this process, then we can definitely save you some good money on the front end, which is a whole lot better. None of us are really the litigators, so we're not as polished as our colleagues, but if we do our job right, then you won't ever have to meet our colleagues. So we think that's the best way to go. And if you can go to the next one, please.
So part of what we have been able to provide advice on is FOIA responses, and those that's to Michael's point, that's one place where localities and boards like this can get tripped up. We advise on the front end, as Michael said. We also, however, our litigators have taken FOIA cases up to the Virginia Supreme Court and successfully, and so we have a lot of experience on providing advice on the front end so that those back-end lawsuits don't have to occur.
And a lot of those things from a practical perspective, and this is where it gets really interesting with the Board of Supervisors, right? Because under FOIA, you've got these exceptions and exemptions, and here you are interfacing with businesses that have some really private proprietary information. And either the competition or concerned citizens want to know all this stuff before it happens. And then when it comes to economic development recruitment packages from the state, it is absolutely crucial that confidentiality is made so that the governor can make the announcement, because if they don't, by statute, they can actually pull the funding. So if you don't follow these rules correctly, we could have a serious problem. Some of these businesses that are interfacing might be small, but some might be large. Some of these large industries, their international budget for a legal thing is more than some of the budgets of the clients that we represent and everything. So we also want to, again, keep them out of trouble, but we also want to make this functioning. So for example, if because the funding from a lot of the EDA stuff is going to come from the County Board of Supervisors, and so for them, they want to know, they feel entitled that they want to know about how the money is being spent. So they think that, you should be able to tell me all that kind of stuff. Well, you can, but you've got to do it the right way. And so I've had a lot of experience in working out with the county attorney, the city attorney, and then me, to come up with a really good way to make everyone accountable. So there are exceptions in the FOIA law that says we can have guests if they're necessary to facilitate whatever the closed session discussions are. And what we do is, for example, we make them, the guests, which is usually a Board of Supervisors person or a city council person, sign a confidentiality agreement every single time they come in here. And then we send them a copy of that document to their home. So I don't want to be hearing I don't remember what I signed that day. So this way they have it. And after we came up, I'm the one who spearheaded that, put that process together, we didn't have any media leaks. And especially if you're in a small town or small county, as you know, everyone likes to talk. It's being neighborly, right? And everybody wants to be interviewed by the TV or the newspaper. So that's kind of more of a practical thing that I needed to address, because there would be some consequences if the agreements that we have with these businesses that we're trying to interface with don't feel comfortable, right? If you're going to say, hey, big business, big industry, come here, and they get the idea that we're not very sophisticated and we don't follow procedure, well, that's not really giving them confidence that they want to invest so much money into your community. So these are kind of the practical things that we do. The next slide is generally.
Next slide. Sure, I'll cover it. So one of the issues we run into is, supplier and vendor contracts. For a lot of our clients, we try to come up with form agreements for a lot of things, but you can't come up with a form for everything. And a lot of vendors will require you signing their contracts. Well, dealing with public bodies, there are a lot of things that you can't agree to. And so one of the things that we've done, for example, is to draft up an addendum that would be incorporated into a contract, and it basically just eviscerates all these provisions and says, to the extent that there's any conflict, these provisions in the addendum apply. And so things like indemnity provisions and things like that EDAs and localities can't agree to, we will try to cover those with an addendum that you can apply to someone else's form agreement, or if it warrants negotiation of the agreement, we can do it that way as well. But that's one of the easier ways that we've found to deal with the variety of various agreements from private industries who come to localities and governments and say, here's our form. Well, you can't necessarily sign that form.
Next slide, please. So this is just to give you kind of an outline of some of the tools that EDA or RIFA has that we work with and help them. So first thing is gifts and grants. So one of our clients has one of the largest contiguous in acres of about 4,000 contiguous acres, which is one of the largest ones after the Amazon site in the Commonwealth. So the two localities, they can't afford to put all this money. I mean, they're going to have to get money from the state, sometimes from the federal government, to try to develop this land, to come up with an industrial park. And so there's all these different requirements that have to be done. And so the economic development staff of those, the administrative staff are really good at finding where the money is. But when there's more money, there's a lot of requirements and conditions to that. So we have to go through that, because a lot of the governments want to make sure if we're going to be giving you money, there's going to be strings attached, and we want to make sure that the EDA is a good steward of that money and has a lot of accountability for that. So we do that. And as far as other type of deals that we can assist the EDA with different companies are, direct financing. So, you can issue bonds and assist in trying to facilitate industries and businesses to come and generate funds. So either it's in investment for machinery and tools, and so that all that revenue goes back to the county. You've got raw land that's been developed that's not just pad ready, but even put some shell buildings in there if you want to assist them. Then of course that's going to improve the tax value of that, and then so we can assist in that to help that. As far as obtaining third-party financing, so if a company's trying to come into your community and they said, well, gosh, it's going to take us forever to borrow money, or we might be a startup, maybe we're not, and they get to leverage the financial power or the negotiating power of the EDA or the county so they could get a better deal on some of this financing. Also, another tool that you have is to offer tax rebates. So they'll say, well, if you're going to be starting a business and your tax rate's going to go up, because you are improving the land, and then, we can assist and partner with the Board of Supervisors, say, hey, why don't we give you a portion of your tax dollars that you've paid as kind of like a rebate. The law doesn't allow you to change the tax rate, but it does allow you to put some of that money back. So that's another type of package. And the next slide talks about kind of just like a life cycle of recruiting new industries and businesses to the area. How does it start? Sometimes they'll have, like, for Virginia Economic Development Partnership, they'll have a website and they'll have all the big or even small type of real estate that's available for companies. So if a new company comes in, they'll go to Richmond, maybe. They don't have to, but they'll go to Richmond and say, hey, what do you have available? This is the amount of jobs I want to create. This is how much money I want to build for the type of facility. What's your inventory? And then BDP would then come and talk to us or the locality and say, hey, why don't you give these people a tour and let's talk and see if we can do something. Or they'll just come directly to the EDA staff and say, hey, we've got this good stuff here. We've got a great community. Why don't you take a look? So we are, from day one, try to figure out how that happens and try to facilitate that. So when it comes to visits, sometimes these big companies will have these crazy thick confidentiality agreements because they don't want their competitors to know about your opportunity. And sometimes there have been situations where we don't know who the ultimate user is up until the very last minute. So they have these people called site locators that will, kind of vet and take a look at that stuff, but they don't actually negotiate the deal up until the very end. So, so that's to tell you that we want to facilitate and make sure that the EDA is in the best position to land a new business or industry that's going to come in here. So there's some letter of intent and preparation, and then the deal documents we put together from scratch. Our firm has a lot of experience in representing regional and local banks. So we already know what is market rate for how these things are done, and so we can show value to the business or industry that's coming in here to say, hey, the EDA can provide some kind of financing to help you, and you're still going to get a better deal through us by using our full faith and credit, and instead of trying to get something on your own, especially if you're a smaller operation or you're just starting. And then the next one is just some of the grants that we do have available that a lot of EDAs or RIFAs do try to pursue to get funding. And so in those situations, basically, the EDA is a facilitator. So we would, the EDA would then make application to say, hey, we've got this business, what kind of money can we offer these people, but in exchange, the EDA would be the fiscal agent. So they would say, okay, you guys don't have to worry about the little details. We've done a lot of the vetting for these companies that are coming into our area. But we also say, hey, you need to put some skin in the game. That's what the state level is going to say. Instead of just bring us these companies or businesses that we're going to try to throw money at from the state level, this makes sure that that the locality can say, because we have skin in the game, we're only going to present the really good people that we think are going to have a success in building a good business and industry in our backyard. And then the next slide just generally talks about how we can serve as a local counsel to bond counsel, which is usually a separate lawyer.
Yeah, and I think without going into this in too much detail, because generally, we would work with bond counsel to negotiate the bond documents, and also on the, do all of the sort of the local government type work, like reviewing title and going through all the due diligence and making sure that the if it's a site that the EDA were looking to acquire or have someone else acquire, going through the whole due diligence process, the site permitting, and I think that goes into the next slide actually. So for site acquisition, land development, Michael talked a little bit about VDP. There are grants out there for site-ready sites or pad-ready sites. They can fund costs for everything from surveys and phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments and traffic studies, et cetera. And then the environmental permitting, wetlands determinations, and in addition to phase 1s and phase 2s, you've got wetlands determinations. Sometimes around here you have historical artifacts that might be found. Sometimes we've run into issues where we have to do a historical artifact study, which can be costly, and so you got to figure out how to pay for that. And then we've run into issues where you've got grave sites on a site, and you have to work with DHR and figure out what to do with the remains. And so we've had a lot of experience in pretty much anything that you could think of with the site. We've had to deal with it, and then to utilities infrastructure, whether it's groundwater and surface water permitting issues with DEQ or infrastructure agreements with developers for bringing in utilities and who's going to pay for what. We've sort of run the gamut on that as well.
And then the next
Next
slide,
slide.
please. And another part of just real estate development, and this is to tell you that we want to be a partner with the EDA in trying to facilitate, trying to land this new business or industry, or to enhance an existing business or industry that wants to expand in your area. So part of it is, how do we build a product and see what would be helpful? So we will look at restrictive and protective covenants, and we'll work with the locality to look at what the zoning requirements are, or do zoning things need to change to bring this economic development plan to fruition. So again, we are available, and a lot of times our client, when they really look and see what our capabilities and our usefulness, we get invited to be at all these meetings to help. They'll ask us questions. They'll say, well, Mike, what do commercial real estate developers, how they usually handle the situation? Or they'll say, we need some financing. How are these things usually structured when it comes to private financing, like local banks or something like that? So we have that expertise. We have that experience. And so again, we can do as little or as much as you'd like for us to do. Everyone has a budget. We understand that. But we also think that when we look at some of our clients that we've represented, through me over 15 years, where we started out and where we are today, it's pretty phenomenal. And then we have also on here as far as the other services for trademark protection, and you might be thinking, trademarks, what does that have to do with anything? Well, we have some clients whose parks have become well known throughout the United States that we actually had to create a trademark so that no one else is going to be able to use our stuff. So we thought that was going to be nice and to protect those assets that they've worked for over a decade to develop. And lastly, just to let you know, we have a dedicated energy practice group. So for example, if there is any type of, so for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you've got a industrial park that you're trying to develop, and the electrical lines are just not high enough of capacity to bring them in. You got to move this line that's smack dab in the middle. So who pays for that? Sometimes those costs are tens of millions of dollars, and so you've got to work with the power utility to figure out how they do that kind of stuff. I've had dealings where we had to work through other states that needed enough water to say, hey, we don't have enough water to support this industry, but hey, across the state, you do. How do we work through that? So we help to bring the parties together. So it's the local utility provider who's, in certain of these are, like the water is usually a locality issue. And we help facilitate to say, hey, we're gonna make it worth your while for you to build your infrastructure into this park at your cost, because there's gonna be a guaranteed usage, so they're gonna get the money back. So again, it's like all over the place, but this is just to tell you about the depth that we have and the experience and what our capabilities are.
And with that, if you all have any questions of us, be happy to answer them.
I have a question. It's probably an unfair question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. You mentioned budgets. Obviously, budgets are a big concern. So we as an EDA historically have some outstanding industrial revenue, industrial bonds that we get 1/8 of 1%, and they're set to expire. So we're kind of on a clock of what our income from an EDA standpoint is, but our purpose is to then create a financial condition for the county for the future. So we have to take the revenues we have, figure out what to do with it so we can create a good experience for Charles City County in the future. But we have to do that before our money runs out. So with all the EDAs and IDAs that you guys have represented, not in a cost, but like in a general, how many hours per year do you bill on an average across an EDA or an IDA? So like, what's the magnitude, without discussing dollars, that you would expect? Sure. And I'd for equivalence, I'd like to ask you guys the same thing if you'd come up and follow up with that too, just so everybody gets to answer the same question. So,
well, I'm going to take the kind of flip answer, which is, as with any lawyer question, its answer is it depends. It honestly, it depends. Because depending on the size of the EDA, its budget, what you want our assistance with, where you are in the process. Some of the EDAs that we started out with, or the RIFAs we started out with, they met quarterly, if that. And now they meet monthly, and we have staff meetings that we're responsible to do 2 or 3 times or more a month with staff to do those things. So we've got an EDA, for example, that at this point, it's a small EDA, but it's a pretty wealthy county. And so we're just there as needed. So we review their agenda, their programs, and then we always offer, sometimes we'll be brought on a specific question. They'll say, hey, we're thinking about this company that wants to expand in their area. And then we'll say, well, what kind of help do you need? And so we'll tell them, we estimate that these are the task items that we can do for you. If you have staff to run some of that stuff down, we don't need to do that. You have got really good staff, so they can figure out what those tasks can be. So with some clients, we only bill maybe 2 or 3 hours a month, and then some are a lot. So, I mean, a lot.
But that's with bringing large amounts of income in.
Exactly, and so that's the reason that I would suspect, based on the the review of your website and my conversations, is I think that we're still in this planning phase. That you've got some really great resources, but you need to do some planning. So for example, with one client, we started out with they want to build their first industrial park, and they got to figure out they actually had to do some studies. So they got money from the state. They got money from their board of supervisors to say, what is our goal? What kind of industry or business do we want to come in here? Or if you have some, I think one of the questions for the last one was, you have some older assets that need to be rehabbed to do this thing. In Danville, for example, Dan River Industries had what they called the White Mill. It was huge. This thing was so huge that the Department of Defense was going to use it as a data bunker, because those old textile mills were so strong that it would support tractor-trailer traffic in the interior. And so we were trying for years to try to figure out what are they going to do with that. And so they finally partnered up, and they said, we're going to make this a priority. And they found the right partners. And so right now they did a $85 million tax deal for them to rehab the property. And so now it's mixed use. So they actually have apartments, market apartments, and some subsidized housing apartments. And then they have other areas where they have part of the municipal offices that need to be done. So they got to use existing resources. It's a beautiful facility. It's right on the water, the Dan River. And so, that's a different project. And so we will help them with that. With some of our EDA, IDA clients, they have the county attorney or the city attorney as their primary legal source. But if they have a special project or they're about to plan for a special project, then they'll bring us in and they'll say, hey, Mike, what do we have to look after? Or this is what we got so far, tell us what you need. And so at that point, the county attorney or the city attorney helps to guide what that budget's gonna look like. And one thing I will say that it's, for us, it's always a scary thing. What are we doing? But what I would say is, with any type of business type of transaction, is, did I get value? I mean, that's really what you gotta ask yourself, is when Christian Barton talks and advises us or helps you, are you getting value? Or we have so much work to do. It's not like we're trying to say, hey, we're trying to pad our billable hour, but we're always very conscientious to say, at the end of the day, because you have to represent the people to your neighbors and the people who appointed you to this board, and if some of you are public officials, you've got taxpayers and voters to do this. So you need to say, hey, did we get value? And with a lot of our clients that we've grown with over the decades, the answer is yes. We went from meeting quarterly to, I got meetings with some of these clients multiple times a day, and she's working with one right now that we have that. And so I take that as kind of a recommendation or an affirmation that they have received that value from us. And I guess it's if we're going to be patting ourselves on the shoulder, sometimes we have these really complicated deals, and this company says, well, we need local counsel. Why don't you hire Christian and Barton? And it's like, conflict of interest, we can't do that. But at least we can assist whoever you hire, a way to not have a confrontational adversarial approach, but a collaborative approach, because unlike litigation, we're here together to come to the table to build something, to create a product that's really great for the community. We were having a conversation before here that we were talking about what's really nice about doing the kind of work that the corporate and real estate people do is that we can drive around our clients' localities and I worked on that, I worked on that, I worked on that. I helped facilitate this new business, and it's pretty exciting for this. Now, I will be, I'm always honest, but I'll be frank on this. It depends. The answer is you have to have a commitment among your board to really think about what kind of commitment that you're gonna have to make sure that the staff that's supporting you is really gonna bring a good product. You know, before that used to be, you know, kind of like Field of Dreams, the movie, if you build it, they will come. Well, resources are too expensive, you know, to do that. So it's kind of modified. So you need to really think about, we're not so desperate that we'll take any type of business and give away the baby with a kitchen sink. I don't even know if that's the right.
With the bathwater?
With the bathwater, I'm sorry. And, but my point is that sometimes that's my job to say, hey guys, you know, let's play better poker here. Let's negotiate. Let's make sure that we have enough rationale that we can justify to all the taxpayers out there, the citizens, that what we're bringing here is good. So I think there was a talk about data centers. Well, data centers are hot, and there's some issues about, you know, the cost. Is that really going to create the number of jobs? You know, there's going to be a lot more infrastructure, the money, and so we can assist with that process to say, hey, how are we going to market these things within our own community, right? Because if we bring something something here that the community doesn't like, well, you haven't done your job. It doesn't matter how many new jobs that you have. If everything is trash, they're all going to remember the trash part. So we will also go in there and say, hey, let's plan. We will even assist with doing surveys and say, hey, what do you think if we had a solar farm over here? And of course, a lot of them say no, but some of them say, well, sure, you know, because our farms have been in decline, changing economies from a agricultural to something else. So again, what I'm trying to say is that we have so much experience in doing as little or as much as you want, and at your level as I see it to be, or as we see it to be, and at this starting phase, we can work with your budget and tell you, hey, these are things that you might want to invest in, whether it's a study. Oh, just let you know, sometimes you can get some of this stuff for free. Some of these universities that have business schools, they love a project, you know, until they'll have the class to do the projects to figure out how, you know, this area wants to bring in manufacturing. So they'll do all the work for you. It's free. You know, it might not be the time frame that you have, but given what you have, maybe that's what you want to do. When I looked at your website and we looked at the industrial park that you know it's not owned by you, but you helped to do that, and I saw the Market 5. You know, we have experience in trying to help with that, or to help create the community. And even if you don't own it, you can assist them with that. So for example, let's say that you want to have anchor tenants that come in here. So if you want to say, like, if you have a big box company or some type of business, then you want to facilitate this business growth. Well, you can facilitate that so that if you're doing the leasing, you can have exclusive to say, hey, we already have, I don't know, like a repair shop, or we have a hotel or motel or bed and breakfast here. Then we're going to tell them, hey, we're going to help you succeed. So we're not going to put your competition next door, you know, and stuff like that. So we're trying to be really practical and a bit granular on that stuff. But again, it just depends on the needs and, fortunately, the budget of what you guys want to do. But so whether we do it ourselves or we just give you that advice, that's the added something that we provide. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
The only reason, if we're billing a bunch of hours, it's because we've been successful and we've managed to bring something that's going to really bring a lot of income and a lot of jobs to the community, and that takes a lot of hours. So if we're going to focus on that, you wouldn't be doing that unless you were going to get your investment back.
Are there any more questions?
Oh yeah, you'd ask them if they could respond to that question.
I would love to respond to that, Mr. Johnson. I'll try to make it simple as I possibly can, direct. Economic development tends to have a very lumpy tempo in terms of what things happen. We have clients who we handle work me absolutely ragged over, let's say, 20 hours, then you pay me something for the overage. I also have a client who, they tell me at the beginning of the year, here's what our legal budget is. Work to the budget and communicate with me about what you need, and if we have something big hit, just communicate and we'll figure out how to find the money, but work to that budget based upon what you think the needs are. So those are all different plans, but like I said, it can become very lumpy. I know with Amherst County, it's as though I'll spend a year where all that they're doing is some small business grants, and I'm just reviewing a document, sending it back, and I build it for like a half hour in a month. And then all of a sudden they'll have a prospect come in and it's hot and heavy, and I do 25 hours. And again, similar to them, it's not as though they're unhappy that we've just landed a big prospect and done a performance agreement that took 25 hours to do that. But I do find that there's a lot of lumpiness to the economic development field, and so finding that predictability that will work for everybody works. In Amherst County, there is a very low flat fee that we charge, and we work that out where there's an overage as well for that 1 month that it's a ton of hours. So I'd be interested to talk to you more about it, but that would be I think our view. It also depends to some degree on the skill of your in-house people. Again, in Amherst County, I think probably like Ms. Boone, they have a very dedicated person who's done economic development forever. She doesn't need me to help her on the average FOIA request. Now, she's got a big prospect coming in, and we need to parse down to the advisory council opinions on a subsection of FOIA. Yeah, sure, she's going to call me for that. But she doesn't need me for the average day-to-day stuff. So she doesn't. And because they're on a tight budget, she just doesn't call me. She does fine. I also have clients who are slightly more well-heeled, who I hear from them every day about how their children's basketball games are going, and that's fine too. But it's to some degree I'm saying that it depends, but I have seen what your budget looks like. I do know how it goes sometimes when the principal on that industrial development bond or hospital bond keeps getting smaller, and your 16th of a percent keeps getting smaller. I've been there, and I can work with you.
Thank you both. That answered my question, and it was a bit of a tester question anyway, so both
Mine
lawyers.
was not as succinct as my learned colleagues here, but
Thank you both. Thank you.
Excited about
Yeah.
this stuff.
I do. Well, are there any other questions about?
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
So in speaking with Mr. Brown earlier, as far as the EDA board decision, I think he wanted to propose to you all for you all to consider maybe just taking the next 30 days to think about what you've heard tonight and maybe vote during the next meeting. Is that what you all want to do? Just kind of think about it?
Yeah, is that, do we need a motion for that to actually vote on this at the next meeting on which firm we're going to use?
Yeah, that'd be fine. I just, following up, what we had mentioned at our last meeting, that's in the minutes, is that we were going to create a selection committee that was going to be made up of some of the members here, and it mentioned some county administrative personnel. So I wasn't a fan of that anyways. I would prefer us just to handle it as a group of 7 and consider it, communicate individually as we need to over the next 30 days, and then we can come to a decision in February.
Okay, so
I'll put it on
we'll
the agenda
table
for
this
February.
until the next meeting?
You want me to motion for that?
He just
We don't
tabled
need
it.
Okay, good.
All right, next item on you all's agenda under new business, item B is Market 5 lease agreement. On tonight, we have Sweet Hummingbird Bakery. Just to advise you all, I know normally it'll say that you all will vote on the application itself, but we wanted to try to streamline the process better for the EDA as we move into the new year, things that you are reviewing, things that you are approving. So I believe it's in you all's best interest, not necessarily reviewing the application. Not saying that you can't ask her questions when she come up here about the application, but I believe the motion should better be suited for you all to approve the lease agreement itself. So that is the direction that we're moving in. But again, she's going to present her application. Y'all can ask her questions concerning the application, but I believe the motion should be concerning the lease agreement. That better aligns with you all's function rather than looking at applications and voting on applications.
I agree with that, Ms. Boone.
Yes, sir. Yes, and come to the mic so they can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so first I'd like to say good evening and thank you to Ms. Boone and her team and you all for allowing me to come here and speak on behalf of the Sweet Hummingbird Bakery tonight. And I guess I'll just tell you a little bit about myself right before I jump right into the business aspect. My name is Angela Barton and I was born in Halifax County, Virginia, raised in Mecklenburg County. However, I've just recently come back here in July of this year because I do serve an active duty officer in the Army, right? So I'm stationed at Fort Lee. And so that is what I do on a day-to-day basis, right? I'm an acquisition officer. And when I have free time, I bake, right? And I've been baking since probably 1999, early 2000s. But this is probably going to be my last duty station right before I retire. And so what I will tell you is that although I've been baking for over 20 years, 2022 is when I established my business when I was stationed in Maryland. And since that time, I have not been profitable, right? And as a small home-based business, that is a struggle, right? It's often a struggle to find a location to vend, to sell. And so my request coming here tonight is just really to maybe plant some roots, right? I can't tell you how permanent, right? But I do know after finding out about the Market 5 location, I was just like, well, why is Charles City County the only place that, has figured it out, right? Just because trying to own a brick and mortar, right, is extremely expensive. Trying to establish a food truck is, extremely expensive. And so, I stand before you tonight just, as a small business entrepreneur, asking for an opportunity similar to the other vendors that you have at Market 5 to be able to sell my baked goods there. With the understanding that I do operate under the cottage license, right, currently. So I don't have a commercial kitchen that I operate out of, which is a little bit restrictive, right? But that does not mean that I cannot bring to bear delicious baked goods and things, for the residents of this county. And so I don't know if you all have specific questions as it relates to my application or the business itself or operation, but I will pause pending any questions that you all may have of me.
Okay. As far as your baked goods, you will be, where would they be prepared at?
They are prepared out of my home.
Okay. And you would basically ship them, or you would transport them on a daily basis? They would be fresh daily, brought in daily?
So as far as frequency, right, because I'm active duty, so I can't be similar to the other vendors, uniquely complex, and it looks like the cycle company. I can't be there every single day. So my request would be, however times a month I can be there. What I do bring there to that location will be fresh. It's not going to be something that's been prepared weeks in advance, right? And so if I bake Thursday, Friday, then I'm bringing the baked goods there Saturday morning, right? If I bake Saturday evening, I'm bringing them there Sunday morning. And so if, as far as familiarity with the cottage food law, there are certain restrictions with what you can and can't bake, right? So you can't bake cheesecakes, you can't bake anything that requires time and temperature control. So none of those items would be what I bake. So think cookies, muffins, cupcakes, cake slices, cinnamon rolls, right? And so maybe a little bit of additional comfort is, so my buttercream frostings have been tested at the microbac lab, right, to make sure that they are within the parameters for both water activity and pH, right? And so that is not something that all bakers do, right? But that is something to make sure you cover yourself as it relates to the cottage food law. You have your recipes tested so that there won't be any, issue with potential bacteria growth, right? And you don't want people to get sick, obviously. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I did read something, I think you said Saturday would probably be your main day.
Yes, ma'am.
Some weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, ma'am.
And possibly during the week, if available, part-time employee.
Yes, ma'am. So if that's one thing, right? If I had someone else that would be willing or, have the ability to come there during the week, I have no issues with doing that, with providing baked goods. I just cannot physically be there, The Army would not allow that.
You would be there on the weekend.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So I just wanted to be clear about the operating hours. It would meet the minimum of 30 hours per week with the weekend days you were stating as well as during the week, or not?
So I'll be honest, Ms. Rollins, in full transparency, I cannot commit to you that every single week I could be able to meet the 30-hour requirement, right? So let's just say Saturday and Sunday, I was there from maybe 8 to 3 or 8 to 3 on both days, right? Until I can have someone that I know is going to be in the seat during the week permanently, I cannot commit to those 30 hours. If that is a limiting factor for operation.
Are there any other questions, Angela?
We had previously had discussions about tenants that the operating hours were restrictive based on seasonal experience of it being mostly an outdoor facility, inclement weather in the wintertime, So there's been discussions about that with the tenants as Market 5 has kind of evolved. And we made a choice to kind of relax that requirement with the intent that we expect each of the tenants at Market 5 to kind of participate in the fraternity that Market 5 is and to kind of do their best at being open to support the other businesses that are there as well. So the verbiage in the sublease, it does say you will determine your hours as you see fit, but we did request that the target is about 30 hours a week, knowing that there's circumstances. I don't see it being a showstopper from my opinion. But as you grow, potentially your business takes off and you find, hey, there is the ability, especially in the nice weather months, to get someone to be present that would be supportive of what Market 5
Absolutely
intends to be. So
yes, sir.
That was my comment on that.
I did hear something about the word retirement. Is that soon?
I don't want to say this on record right now. But as of right now, summer of 27 is my target retirement date. Yes, ma'am.
So ours could definitely increase.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Brown, if there's no further questions, we ask that their EDA make a motion to on her lease agreement that's in your packet.
Yes. Is there a motion to accept this agreement at Market 5?
I motion to approve the sublease as presented.
Is there a second to accept Sweet Hummingbird Bakery? Second. So it's been properly motioned in second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Welcome.
Thank you all very much.
All right, I'll be in contact with you concerning the next steps. Thank you. All right. The last item on the new business, you have 2 requests in your packet from 2 tenants in Market 5. Uniquely Complex, and It Looks Good on You. But I don't see neither one of those tenants to present their request, but to summarize their request, they're asking during the shoulder months of January, February, March, due to low foot traffic, basically, that you all consider lowering their rent for January, February, and March. We know that the rent right now is $450, so they're asking if you can cut it in half to $225. But at this current time, they are the only 2 tenants. I have not received any requests from any other tenants at Market 5 concerning this this request that's before you. But all I have is the details that you see that they have written within their request at the end of your pack.
Do we have any motions or any concerns in reference to the rent reduction?
Go ahead, Travis.
I do have a comment on this one. I think we've got to tread carefully here from a equality and fairness standpoint with what, like I said, the somewhat fraternity of Market 5. I think we've got kind of two choices, in my opinion. We can either extend this to every tenant at Market 5, given that it is a challenge in the inclement weather of the winter with an outdoor facility type of situation, or we have to stay true to everybody's rent should stay the same. I don't think we should allow some people one thing and some people not. So it's either everybody would get this requested discount whether they're requesting it or not, or we say no, we've got to stick to the lease agreement as is. My opinion.
I agree with that as well. The other question I have is, what about next time, the next request? If someone says, oh, I want it even lower than that, or I want it to be 0, at some point there has to be a process or a guideline or some kind of standard by which we say, we're not going to go below this or above this. And so to me, it's more, it's a question for the committee or for the Market 5 place at all. Is the goal to promote, let me back up a little bit. We know not all businesses will be successful. Is the goal of Market 5 to prop them up no matter what? Or is the goal to say we stick to the plan or we adjust the plan, and those who survive, that's great. Those who don't survive, that's fine too, because that's just the law of the commercial marketplace. And so all of them are expected, all the renters are expected to submit business plans. Some business plans work out, some don't. And I don't know, do we allow failure or do we soften it, to make it easier, but then what's the limit for that? And so that's just my question for the committee.
I don't think it's the job of Market 5 to prop them up. I don't want to be harsh, but $450 is not a lot of money. And if you start with these two, believe me, they're going to be more. And I wouldn't agree to doing it.
In addition to the comments already presented, I just had 2 more. With this request is throughout 26. However, with Market 5 just opening in the past year, these businesses coming on board with that, and we have understanding that a business possibly takes about 3 to 5 years really to kick off, and then being in the location, this probably would extend beyond 2026, and we find ourselves in this situation year after year, at least for the next 5 to 7 years, number one. So we would need to consider that. Number 2, this is a request to reduce the rent for these months due to the lack of traffic, the slow period, incidentally. Would this also, would we have under conversation to say, okay, if we lower the rent for these months, what would be on the other side of that of paying the difference through or during the more trafficked times? So those are my 2 comments to that, or 2 questions to put forth to the board. When trying to, again, the fraternity of Market 5 and being supportive of those businesses have taken the opportunity to do that, but also considering we're looking at long-term. We've been talking about long-term planning for a long time. So we need to consider what would be the long-term resolution to this.
With all of that being said, do we have a motion to vote on this rent relief to the tenants of Market 5?
Are we voting on it as presented, or are we doing any type of amendments to what I'm trying to understand?
I guess we would vote on whether or not to request a temporary rent reduction for Market 5 during what months were there?
It's January, February, and March.
January, February, March. Oh, if you do it for one, you gotta do it for all. We can't single anyone out.
I will say for January, if I maybe interject, we have 2 tenants that's already paid their lease payments. We have 2 that's always on time. I just want to just let you know that, that some have already paid.
What's requested of us is just these 2.
Just them 2.
My opinion was that we would need to do it just to be fair.
Everybody.
But I would go ahead and make a motion if that's all right.
Go ahead.
I motion to deny the request to reduce the rent for Market 5 from the original lease agreements that were signed.
Is there a second? Okay, motion has been presented and properly second, so we will not be reducing the rent for Market 5. All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it.
All right, number 10 on the agenda item, there's no old business to present at this time. We are now at number 11, and Mr. Brown, I apologize, I didn't give you the thing to read, so here it goes.
Okay.
Can you see it good?
We will now open the public comment period. The Economic Development Authority welcomes public comment on matters within its jurisdiction. Each individual speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to address the authority. If you are speaking on behalf of a group, all members of the group must stand and identify themselves, and the group will be allotted up to 5 minutes total. Please state your name and any affiliation for the record before speaking. Comments should be directed to the authority as a whole. The board will listen to comments but will not engage in dialogue during this time. If you would like a written response, please complete the public comment response request form provided. Written responses will be issued within 7 business days. We ask that all speakers maintain proper decorum. Profane, disruptive, or disrespectful behavior will not be permitted. Thank you for your cooperation.
All right. Is there anyone who would like to have public comments at this time?
Okay, and, yes,
Come to the podium.
come to the podium, and Adrian will be our timekeeper.
Good evening. My name is Eli Dancy. I'm a resident of Charles City and owner of Simply Cycle at Market 5. I wasn't planning to speak today, but I have to say something. I came to express my, on behalf of myself. Okay, I came to express my disappointment in the performance of the EDA in regards to Market 5. I came here today to hear more information about, well, the first issue I've been having is that the line of communication with you guys, between us, the tenants, and market, and you guys, it has been impossible. We're not allowed to talk during meetings. Our email requests are usually kind of construed and mixed up, and for some reason, when we get to finally meet with individuals face to face, we seem to have good conversations, but then when it comes back here, it doesn't translate. And I think that you guys need to do better. The purpose of the EDA is to support small businesses, all right? I brought the idea of Market 5 to the EDA over 5 years ago. It was my design, and you guys approved it then. Only one person on this table is still here who was there that day, but you guys approved it, and it was a great idea. In the execution of that idea, a lot of things went wrong, and we're stuck with what we are stuck with. But it's me and the other tenants there have done everything we can to make this happen. My business has been very successful, but the other tenants are struggling. This request was not made by just 2 tenants. It was requested over 3 months ago by all of us. It has been sent, and not to Miss Cynthia, but it's been sent multiple times via email. And it wasn't until I actually got to speak to the head of the EDA and have him come down and speak to each one of us individually. And we all expressed our concerns about the current state of Market 5. Market 5 was not supposed to be open year-round. It was supposed to be seasonal. Everyone knows that the Capitol Trail is the lifeline of Market 5 and is completely dead around this time. Every other business understands that along Route 5, even our other tenants. That's why we asked for relief. Now, again, my understanding is it's the job of the EDA to support us, small businesses, and to show that we are here to, you guys are here to help us make it happen. I don't know what we can do, what else we can do. I know that you most likely are going to lose most of your tenants. Even with the approval of this tenant just now, it shows that you guys did not take the time to do due diligence to actually think about what you were doing. We already have a bakery there. It's called Grace's Sweet Treats. She already serves exactly, sells exactly what this young lady is planning to sell, which means you're setting us up again for another tenant to come in and fail. The same thing was done with our art gallery tenants. Great people, but their business plan did not fit the model. It was very clear from the beginning. They came in, they did exactly what they tried to do, and they ended up leaving. So we're going to continue to do that. If we have no way to contact you guys, to communicate with you guys, and when we do communicate with you guys, it seems that everything is understood, but then when we get here, we're not allowed to talk, and these things get thrown, and it's always denied. So again, I ask you guys to do better, and I've expressed my concerns. I've been the only one fighting for the rest of the tenants. I'm doing great, but they're not. And just because they can't be here
Thank you, Eli.
doesn't mean that it's not important. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Randy Moreno. So I would encourage y'all, I'm speaking for myself. I would encourage you guys to review the grant for Market 5. My recollection in reading that grant was that there was a stipulation of the grant approval for an amount of hours per month. So I'd encourage that. And I would also encourage as the EDA, so I'm a small business owner. I will say my business is not in Charles City County because it wouldn't be successful here, just in the nature of what my small business is. But I would highly recommend open communication, transparency for all businesses, not just Market 5. I jokingly said the other day, every time I go by Market 5, it's closed. I don't even know what the hours are. I drive by Market 5 every single day, Monday through Friday. But I will say I live in District 1, so Saturday, Sunday, I'm not out this way. So I don't know when their hours are. So, you know, it might be beneficial if Market 5 is supposed to be something that is county facilitated. Maybe the EDA/county needs to advertise a bit more so that more people could be involved and more people could support it, because that would ultimately help the businesses there. It's, to me, poor marketing. And if people don't know it's there, they don't know what's open, they don't know what's going on, I can't even tell you what businesses are there. I've tried to find it. It's kind of hard to find it and figure out what the businesses are. I've heard of them, I don't know what they are. So maybe explore some more avenues of explaining what the businesses are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Lloyd Carter. I want to ask a question, but I don't think I'm allowed, so I would just say this. I was hoping that Michael and his firm would have told us a little more about Pennsylvania County and all the data centers that were put down there. And he could kind of give us some idea of whether or not he was involved with that, especially with the gentleman named Matt Rowe, who at one time was employed by Charles City. So if not now, if you can catch me after the meeting, you can give me a little information on that. Thank you.
Hello, Bill Hopke. How are you? I'm a little nervous with all the attorneys in the room, especially with my back to the attorneys. That's really scary. And one related to Charles City, so that's even scarier. So let me just read some of my comments. I usually don't read, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I just want to compliment and thank you for excellent questions to Davenport and Mr. Rogers regarding the two recent financings. I was, and I still am, against the new financings. Although I recognize the county is in such precarious financial position, there may have been no choice. I don't think the answers provided by Davenport especially, and Mr. Rogers were satisfactory in most cases. But there was likely not much that you as a group could do. The terms pass-through, conduit were used throughout the minutes to describe the relationship between the county and the EDA. Since the EDA is an independent body, and I'm learning here a lot, I don't know much about government. I can imagine how difficult the situation was to hear some of those words of, you know, we're here just to not get your approval, but just to present it to you, and this is a perfunctory process. You have no say. That's what I read in the minutes. Maybe the law firms can help with that. Maybe that's just the way the world is. What stood out to me was when a question was asked by, and I won't name names, but why was the financing not delayed until just before the maturity of the RAN? The answer was, I won't say it, but it was BS, period. I also didn't hear anybody ask for a refund of the $150,000 we paid Davenport to do the RAN. They're going to pay it off earlier, so they said they would, 6 months. Now they're kind of backing off on that, so they need extra money? I don't know. But we should get the feedback. Nobody's asked. When asked what the equity was that supported these loans, that answer was even worse. I mean, basically they said, because we put cash in, we should be able to borrow against it. That doesn't mean the property is worth more because they put cash in it. It's not relevant whatsoever. In fact, you might make the case that it needed the cash infusion and it's worth less. So I was really disappointed in that answer because it's just really not true. If anybody applied
Excuse me, your time limit is up.
Yep. Thank you.
Adrian, you can say this conclude our public comment period.
Is there anybody else for public comment?
All right, Mr. Brown, that concludes our public comment period. Next item on the agenda is number 12, Director's Report. There is none on tonight. Number 13, are there any reports or requests from you as the chair, Mr. Brown?
No, it's none for me. Thank you.
All right, is there any questions or concerns from any other of the EDA board members?
Yes. One procedural comment. It says in our bylaws that we do election of officers at our first meeting in January every year. I know we just did election of chair and vice chair, but in alignment with what it says in our bylaws, it says we do it at our first meeting in January every year. So before we adjourn here, I think it's necessary that we kind of either complete that or we determine that if that's something we don't do anymore. I think that's a question for you guys.
It's up to you, Mr. Brown. The only reason I didn't add it, because like you said, we just did it in the November meeting, so I just didn't put it as part of the January, but like you said, it is in the bylaws. So if y'all want to go through that process, I mean, we can do it like we did last time. I can do the roll call, ask each person their nominees.
If it's in the bylaws, then we
Well,
should.
so let me just, it's very confusing in the bylaws, just to be fair. So if you read, I'm going to point everybody, since it's in our packet, we can look at the bylaws, and this might be something we need to put a little focus on for the next amendment of our bylaws to make sure we clear this up. It says, Article 1, Paragraph 6, I believe. It says, officers of the authority shall be elected by the Board of Directors at their first meeting after the appointment of directors to fill the expiration of terms, comma, in January of each year. I don't really know what that means. I think it means we elect our officers in January at the first meeting every year, but I don't know what after the appointment of directors to fill the expiration of terms is talking about. So just.
Okay. With that being said, I would like to go ahead and table this until the next meeting so we can get a little more clarity on it.
Fair enough.
All right, the next,
Any more questions, concerns? Okay, our next meeting will be held 6 p.m. on February the 5th here in the Government Administration Building. Meeting adjourned.
Wait, I probably, we about 3 months.